hope this comes out well. I have decided to start recording the podcast on Zoom. So I will have video as well. But I'm not really sure how the recording is going to come out. So we'll see. I just want to have it to be able to use it as a video if needed. Obviously, this is the Imperfect Adventure. So my intention is not to get ready to be video ready. I assume most people will be listening to this since it is a podcast, but in certain instances, I may share the video. So I want to have it, but I'm also not going to deviate from the brand, which is totally imperfect, right? Like this is not a professional podcast. This is just me sharing my thoughts and me in my rawness, really. Okay, so let's get into it. We are changing up the format a little bit here at the Imperfect Adventure. I am moving away from the daily podcast episodes. We did that for 150 plus episodes, which was awesome and wonderful. But I am birthing a new business venture, my nurse coaching practice. And so I really needed to sort of adjust my priorities and make sure I'm staying in line with what my goals are. And I absolutely love this podcast. So I'm not going to give it up. I made the commitment to do this for 3 years. And so that's exactly what I'm doing. But just changing a little bit. So now we're going to have what we've decided to do is have monthly themes, topics. And then every Friday, I will release a new episode, a new take on that topic, my thoughts, my tips, my tricks, maybe bring in an expert time if I know somebody that's in the field and on that topic that could really be helpful with information for you. So this month's topic is nutrition. It really is what I've found in my own journey, my own health journey, my own journey to help my family feel better in general. And really in my nursing career is that nutrition matters, no matter how much we don't want that to really be true. And maybe I'm speaking about myself. It really matters what we're putting into our body, into our mouths and into our body. It matters more than maybe we want it to. Because I mean, who doesn't just want to eat chocolate? Right? Or just run out and get convenience food. I mean, I think that's just a human thing that we would all desire, to just be able to eat whatever we wanted and whatever tasted good and whatever we were craving at the moment. But that's just really not efficient, not effective, not helpful to overall health. And what I've noticed in my 25-year nursing career is that nutrition as a foundation of health really makes a lot of difference down the road. It can lead to a lot of terrible outcomes, or it can keep you, in a place where you're very proactive about your health and you're not at risk for a lot of the bad things that can happen. So I'm just going to, in today's episode, I am just going to share with you my own personal journey from a nutrition perspective. So for me, growing up, grew up in the 70s and 80s. And that was really when TV dinners were big and a luxury sort of. Fast food was also new and a luxury. And my mom was a single mom. So there was an element of convenience that was really, really helpful, legitimately helpful for my mom. And my mom is a fantastic cook. She really enjoys food, and being a single mom, she took my sister and I out to a lot and introduced us to a lot of different types of food, because she would do like dates with us, because it was just the three of us. And so I was exposed to a lot of different types of foods. But also from a convenience factor was we did not eat fast food all the time. We just did not. My mom was very conscientious about what we ate. And she was kind of crunchy before crunchy was cool. That's what I always tell her. Um, like she breastfed us until we were toddlers. It was kind of unheard of back then. She was a leche league leader. She made all of our own baby food. But when she became a single mom, she definitely needed like feeding us to be more convenient. And I think every mom or every parent can really relate to that. And then because of the convenience factor and because of at the time, like in the 80s, it was really sort of a fake food time. Like I look back and it was when margarine was better than butter. And it was, the Weight Watchers era. I don't know if you guys can relate to this, if your moms kind of got into the Weight Watchers thing. But it was a lot of fake food. So it was, we're going to make food that tastes good. But it's not going to have fat or it's not going to have sugar. And so what they ended up replacing it with, what we know now, is a lot of synthetics, a lot of chemicals. But at the time, it was the new thing. It was like, oh my gosh, I can eat that dessert and it's not bad for me. It's not high calorie. It's not loaded with fat. It's not loaded with sugar. But really, it was just we were consuming all of these chemicals, and doing, unfortunately, a ton of damage to our metabolism and our bodies. And so it was not my mom's fault, but it was definitely the culture of the time, the push, the advertising, the what was available, the convenience, plus you won't get fat. And so my mom was a lifetime Weight Watchers member. Kind of, there was a lot of ebb and flow to her weight loss and at weight gain, weight loss. And as a young girl, going through, my own body image issues, and sort of that was the example for me. And I really, really enjoyed food, and I can actually eat a lot of food. Sometimes people are like, wow, I would get negative comments because like, why do you eat that way? I am a member of the Clean Plate Club, not because anybody ever made me clean my plate. I just really enjoy food. And I enjoy a lot of different foods, but but I can say too, I didn't really struggle with weight. I've been pretty mindful, pretty active. I wouldn't say that I was in like great shape. It wasn't like I was a big exerciser or, go to like a gym rat or that kind of thing. But I was able to maintain, pretty good weight. But what really happened for me from a nutrition perspective was in high school. I started having some significant digestive issues. I really didn't understand why. I self-diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome because my mom was struggling with IBS. And so I just assumed it was sort of like a genetic issue. My mom struggled. Okay, this is just my lot in life. This is what I'm going to have to deal with. But I really never understood the relationship between my digestive issues and my diet. It wasn't a thing that we talked about. I had no idea about the gut microbiome. I mean, like the gut bacteria microbiome, all that research is fairly new. It definitely was not around in the 80s, early 90s, at least that I was aware of as a teenager. And so, I kind of, nutrition, I was like aware I shouldn't like just have a diet of fast food. And obviously vegetables are better than, that kind of thing. But I wouldn't say that I really gave it much thought until my digestive issues really started to get worse. And that was 30s, mid 30s, I would say, kind of after I was done having babies. I didn't have, it wasn't, my digestive issues were there, but it was not really affecting my life. It wasn't interfering and getting, causing me to not do things until my mid to late 30s. They really started, my GI distress really started to put a hamper? No, that's not the right word. Dampen maybe my life. I started to make decisions based upon my GI distress. I started to, not go out with friends for meals. It started to affect when I could take my children places, or I would be somewhere and I would be so miserable and so uncomfortable that we would have to leave early. It was just this, and it created this anxiety because I didn't know when my stomach was going to bother me. I just really didn't understand the physiological process that was happening. And it just really, really started to interfere with my life. There was also a weight component. So when my weight was under control, when I say that, it is not like when I was skinny, like it's not, it's when I was at my ideal weight. We all have our own ideal weight where our body just functions at its best. And so when I was at my ideal weight, I really struggled less. And if I would kind of let things go a little bit or, get off the wagon, whatever, and I would start to put on some weight, then I would notice that my GI symptoms would be worse. I also noticed that my GI symptoms were worse when I was anxious, but it was it was like this cyclical thing. It was like a negative feedback cycle. So, my stomach would bother me. I would get anxious about my symptoms, and then the anxiety would make my symptoms worse. Right. And so I would just keep going round and round in this negative feedback loop. And it just kept getting worse. The older I got, it kept getting worse. And so about 10 years ago, I finally succumbed to doing a true elimination diet. I have to share, before I decided to do an elimination diet, probably for 5 years, like a long time, put this off for a really long time. I did what I see most people do now, is I would say I would eat that thing, say it was like soda, carbonated beverages used to bother me a ton. And so I would drink that soda or that, sparkling water or something. And then I would have problems. I would have some GI distress. And so I would say, that's the thing that I shouldn't have. And so I would get rid of it. But then what happened is I would start to react to something else. And so it would be the last thing I ate. I remember at one point it was cucumbers. Cucumbers were giving me a hard time. And so I eliminated cucumbers, but then it was on to the next thing. And the next thing and the next thing. And what I realize now, and I think this is human nature because it is sort of across the board what I've seen in my coaching practice, and in, when I was at the bedside, when I was in the hospital, what my patients were looking for was really that magic bullet, right? Either the magic bullet that I need to get rid of, like gluten's the enemy or dairy's the enemy, or I just can't tolerate cheese or whatever. And then all my problems will go away, if I eliminate that one thing. We want that to be true. We also, the other side of that coin is I want that one thing to make me better. So, I went through doing a green smoothie in the morning, which is awesome. And I was like, it's going to fix everything, right? Celery juice is kind of a big thing. This is all good stuff. Like, it doesn't mean that stuff is bad. It just means that I kept grasping for that one thing, that one supplement, or that one thing to take out of my diet, or that one thing to add into my diet that then would fix all the things. And what I've learned more than anything through all of the health journeys that I've gone on for myself and for my family is that that's just really not true across the board, is that it's not really one thing. It is a lifestyle change that needs to happen. And it might be a group of things that will really help. And so it took me a long time to figure that out. And an elimination diet is not for the faint of heart, but it is not as hard as you think it is. So finally, about 10 years ago, like I said, after 5 years, I decided to go ahead and do an elimination diet. And it's funny because now, fast forward 10 years, having done it so long ago, I'm actually guiding people through elimination diets at this point in my coaching practice. It comes up like almost with everybody, that we all need to do this. So elimination diets take effort. What I did was I did a 28-day elimination diet, and I'm actually really good at goal setting. I can kind of do anything for a short period of time. And so if I have like a 12-week training program when I was a runner, or a 28-day elimination diet, I can do that really, really well. I can get in the right mindset. But gearing up to do it can be really hard. And so I had to gear up to do it. The execution of it was fine, but the gearing up, the deciding like what 28 days should I do? What am I going to miss out on? That kind of stuff. I actually did it sandwiched between Halloween and Thanksgiving. But the way I view an elimination diet now, and what might be helpful to you if you think, you should probably do one, if this has been kind of on your mind, is that it really is doing some detective work. It's going to give you so much information on your body, like what feels good for your body, not anybody else's. And so again, it's not that magic bullet. It's not that like one thing. It's more of like, well, how does my body react to food? What makes me feel nourished, and what makes me feel gross? I mean, really, like that's what you're doing. So with an elimination diet, you're eliminating the heavy hitters, the things that we know can make a belly really unhappy, your GI system really unhappy. Soy, alcohol, processed food, sugar, as much as possible, gluten, dairy, nightshade vegetables, they can be really irritating and inflammatory to the gut. And there's multiple different elimination diets. Some are stricter than others. I went on one specifically for GI issues, but I really feel like the elimination diet I did kind of hits all of the things that are important to me, no matter what somebody is struggling with. But you eliminate those things for a period of time. You give your body a break from these things that we know can cause issues. And then you slowly add those things back over time. So you eliminate for 28 days is what I did. I was feeling a ton better. It was amazing how good I felt getting rid of all that stuff. I was surprised by how good I felt. The beginning was hard, giving up caffeine. Oh, I forgot to mention that. Sorry. Giving up caffeine was a struggle. Definitely had the headache in the beginning. But by day 10, I didn't really feel deprived anymore. I felt like, wow, I have energy. My body feels good. My digestive issues were like almost completely eliminated. And then after that 28 days, you start to add things back one at a time, slowly. Over the course of like 4 or 5 days, you kind of add one thing, give yourself a break, add another thing. And you just start to really check in with yourself. How do I feel? What does this food, adding this back, what did it make me feel? And you walk away with so much information. And I will tell you, it's the best thing I ever did for myself. And I've done a lot of really good things for myself, but the elimination diet, like at the core, gave me so much information. Like I feel confident about what I put in my body and what I know my body needs. Now, I am not always perfect. I'll talk a lot this month about the 80-20 rule, because it is like the best rule ever for all things health related. So I try to be about 80% on plan and 20% whatever the heck I want. So last night, full disclosure, I had fast food. Sunday nights, that's kind of what we do. It's sort of busy. My kids play in the band at church. I just don't feel like cooking. We've had normally a pretty busy weekend, and that's just what we do. And whatever, that's like my 20%. I allow myself to do that the rest of the week. I try to be way more diligent about what I'm putting in my body. So, you don't have to look at it as an all or nothing. Now, elimination diet, yes, is all or nothing for that period of time. But the way I live my life, sustainability, is the 80-20. I'm definitely still a work in progress. It's funny, through the pandemic, I, put on the COVID weight. Like, people either got like in really good shape, which was annoying. I mean, I'm proud of you, but personally it was annoying. Either got in really good shape, like perfect time for me to like work out and whatever, or like me, just felt like I needed comfort. I was like stressing out a lot of a lot of emotions, and I just ate my way through the pandemic. So, this was, I mean, really the first time I gained a significant amount of weight outside of pregnancy. And so I had to figure out, as now a late 40s woman, different hormonal stuff going on, I needed to figure out, wow, how am I going to lose weight without being able to go to the gym and work out really hard, because I have some injuries that limit my ability, like certain activities I'm able to do. So I really needed to focus on nutrition. I mean, that was like where I was going to be able to lose the weight. I needed a true calorie deficit. I needed to know what I was putting in my body. And so even like my nutrition has changed over the past year, and it will as my metabolism changes as I age as well. I've also started to have some, I don't know, kind of in the background GI issues. They come and go. I'm great most of the time, but I really started to feel like I might be missing something here. So I actually just got some results back for gut microbiome testing that I had done, which wasn't even a thing that I knew about 10 years ago, but so great that we have like new technology. And what it does is it looks at your positive, like your good, beneficial bacteria, and also the bad bacteria, and sort of the balance and like what's going on. And so I just received, it's like a whole packet of material. I just received my results, and they're generally good, but I've got a couple things going on that I think if I'm able to manage them or to treat them, which I have a whole protocol that I'll be starting later this late in October, just because I have some travel coming up. I'm going to give that a try, because I'm hoping to kind of nip some of these things in the bud. What I also know is that in health in general, we are all a work in progress. And so just like you see here, like I needed to figure out my nutrition related to weight loss, which was not something I needed to do before. And now I'm having some gut issues, some GI issues that have been great for 10 years, but now starting to kind of see some issues that I need to address. This is just, our bodies are not stagnant. Our health is not stagnant. It's all in a continuum. And so being proactive about it is really, really important. And so that's what I'm doing in my own life. And I may need to adjust my nutrition again. There is some of my results that are showing that gluten might be a problem. I figured out from the elimination diet that dairy was a problem, but gluten was fine. But now, fast forward 10 years and a little bit more advanced testing, gluten really may not be the best option for me. And so I'm going to go through a protocol, and I'm going to see how I feel. It's another type of elimination diet, but a little bit more specific. So we'll see. More to come on that. I'm still learning about my body, but it's really, really, in my opinion, it's very important to get your nutrition figured out and understand that nutrition really is the foundation of everything we do in health. You cannot out exercise a bad diet. We also know that really poor nutrition affects our emotional health and our mental health. It affects sleep. It affects our stress level. There's so many things. It's like this, like what I envision, it's like the spoke of a wheel, right? So your nutrition is like the core, and then the spokes go out from there. So it affects stress, it affects sleep, it affects emotional health, it affects your mental health, it affects your weight, which then has all of these other factors, right? All of these health factors that just kind of build out from there. And so really being aware of nutrition as a foundation for your health and what really works well for you. It is not one size fits all. I've started to mull over some thoughts in my head about health. Health, your healthcare plan, medicine, like the medical model, even an alternative approach, never one size fits all. It might be one size fits most, but it's never one size fits all. So you need to start, if you really want to have like an abundant health plan, and really feel optimal. You're not going to feel great all the time, let's be honest. But if 80% of the time you want to feel really good and you want your health, yourself to feel healthy, whatever your definition is of healthy, you're going to need to understand your own health plan. And you're going to need to understand what's the difference between one size fits all and one size fits most, right? Like your gap in there. You know, what 80% works for 80% of the population, but what 20% only works for you or your family because of genetic factors or lifestyle factors or whatever. We're all very unique individuals. And so you saying, okay, well, you know, the keto diet worked for my neighbor, it's going to work for me. Not always the case. Keto might work for 80% of people, but there's going to be 20% that need something different. And I think that's what we're all trying to find. Like, we're all like, oh, I'll just try the new thing, like paleo, keto, whatever. Nothing wrong with trying the things. What's important is understanding that it doesn't necessarily work for everybody. And so if it's not working for you, it's not that you're wrong, it's that that plan is wrong. And so what I love about an elimination diet is really figuring it out for yourself, like once and for all, being like, I've done the work, I've done the detective work, and now I know what makes me feel nourished and what doesn't, what frankly makes me feel like crap. And none of us want to feel like crap. The goal is to feel, feel generally good most of the time. 80% of the time is my goal. All right. Well, there's my story. I hope this was helpful. And again, I'll be back the rest of this month. We'll be focusing on nutrition. Have a great day. Bye.